Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. She thought he was just a volunteer at the hospital. He never revealed his true identity until one fateful moment changed everything. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. Anna Monroe had always been dedicated to her job as a nurse. Long hours at the hospital were the norm for her, but it was the only way she could make ends meet and still care for her mother, who had been bedridden for the past few months. With her father long gone and her savings running thin, Anna could only count on her skills and passion for medicine to get her through the toughest of times. But that all changed when she met him. It was a chilly Thursday afternoon when Anna first noticed him. He was standing by the nurse's station, dressed in the same blue scrubs as the other volunteers. His hair was dark, his jaw strong, and despite the casual attire, there was something undeniably elegant about him. He didn't speak much, just quietly helped wherever he was needed, administering medicine, assisting with minor tasks like any other volunteer, but there was an air of mystery surrounding him. Anna didn't think much of it at first. After all, he was just another volunteer, or so she thought. For the next few weeks, they worked side by side. He was kind, polite, and always willing to lend a hand when the hospital was understaffed. Anna grew accustomed to his presence. Every day, they exchanged a few words, usually about the patients or the challenges of working long shifts. He told her little about his personal life, except that he had been involved in business before deciding to volunteer at the hospital. He seemed to enjoy the simplicity of helping people. To Anna, he was just another good-hearted volunteer who had chosen to give his time to those in need. One evening, as Anna was finishing up her shift, she received a text from her mother. The hospital was facing a shortage of supplies, and Anna was asked to stay later than usual to help with inventory. It was another night that would stretch into the early hours of the morning, but she had no choice. Her mother's medical bills were piling up, and Anna needed the extra shifts to stay afloat. As she entered the break room, she saw him again, sitting quietly by the window, a cup of coffee in his hand. He looked up when she walked in. "Hey, you working late too?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. He smiled faintly. "Yeah, seems like we're all stuck here for a while," he replied. "But it's all part of the job, right?" He stood up, his eyes scanning the room as if to take in every detail. She laughed softly. "I guess so. It's nice, though, knowing that someone else is here to help. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, you know?" He nodded. "I get it. Helping people, it's what keeps us going. But hey, don't overdo it. Take care of yourself, Anna." "Thanks," she replied, feeling a small flicker of gratitude. She didn't know why, but his words had a way of making her feel seen. He wasn't just a volunteer. He was a quiet presence in her chaotic life. The next day, Anna was called to the front desk to meet with the head of the hospital, Dr. Harris. It was an unexpected meeting, and her mind raced with questions. Had she done something wrong? Was she being reassigned? But when she entered his office, her anxiety turned to confusion. "Anna, I'm glad you could come in." "Please, sit, doctor," Harris said, gesturing to the chair across from him. She sat down, trying to read his expression. He seemed more serious than usual. "We have a new development," he said. "Mr. Carter, the owner of this hospital, wants to personally thank you for your hard work." Her heart skipped a beat. "Mr. Carter?" she echoed. "I thought he was just a volunteer, doctor." Harris smiled. "That's the surprise, isn't it? It seems you've been working alongside him without knowing who he really is. He's not just the owner of this hospital, Anna. He's the one who has been funding a lot of the renovations and charitable work here. And he's been quietly observing your dedication for some time." Anna sat in stunned silence, her mind struggling to catch up with the reality. The man she had been working beside, the one she had shared so many quiet moments with, was not just a volunteer, he was the billionaire owner of the hospital. Her stomach churned with confusion, and she could hardly process the gravity of the revelation. What did this mean? Had he been using his position to manipulate her? Was everything she had done for the past few weeks just part of his experiment? Her thoughts raced, and a heavy silence filled the room. And then, with a calm smile, Dr. Harris added, "Mr. Carter wants to meet with you tomorrow. He has an offer for you." Anna left Dr. Harris's office in a daze, her mind a whirlwind of questions. How could she have not known? Why had he kept his identity a secret? And what kind of offer was he planning to make? As she walked through the hospital's bright, sterile halls, her footsteps echoed, the weight of the day settling on her shoulders. She had always believed that her dedication was the driving force behind her success. But now, everything had changed. She had no idea what would happen next, but one thing was for certain. The world she thought she knew was about to be turned upside down. The following day, Anna couldn't shake the overwhelming shock of the revelation. She had barely slept, her mind racing with unanswered questions. How could he have hidden such a massive secret? Why had he chosen to work alongside the hospital staff without revealing his identity? The more she thought about it, the more her stomach churned. She had been working with him for weeks, treating him like just another volunteer, and now everything felt like a lie. Her shift that day was longer than usual. The hospital was bustling, and Anna's mind kept wandering back to the conversation with Dr. Harris. The moment she stepped into the break room, her eyes immediately found Mr. Carter, sitting by the window again, his back slightly turned to her. This time, his presence felt different, almost unnerving. She had so many questions, but part of her still didn't know how to face him. Was she supposed to treat him like any other person? Or should she be distant, now that she knew who he really was? She took a deep breath and walked over to him. His head turned slightly, acknowledging her arrival, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy, thick with the unspoken tension between them. Finally, Anna broke the silence. "So, you're really the owner of this hospital?" she asked, her voice quieter than she intended. He didn't immediately respond. His eyes were still fixed on the outside world, but she noticed the slight tension in his shoulders, as if he were bracing for the inevitable confrontation. "Yes," he said finally, his voice steady but lacking warmth. "I am, but I didn't want anyone to know. I wanted to experience what it was like to work here without anyone treating me differently. To see the hospital through the eyes of the people who make it run, like you." He paused for a beat, then added, "I didn't expect you to find out this way." Anna's mind was racing again, trying to process his words. She wasn't sure if she should be angry, confused, or even flattered that he had chosen her to observe. But her frustration was growing. She had been working tirelessly to make a difference, to make her mother's medical bills more manageable, and now she felt like all of it had been part of some grand experiment. "So all of this was just a test?" she asked, her voice a bit sharper than she meant. He met her gaze, and for the first time, she saw something softer in his eyes. "No, it wasn't a test. I wanted to help. I wanted to see if I could connect with people without my wealth overshadowing everything I did. But now that you know who I am, I understand if you feel betrayed." There it was, the truth, finally out in the open. Anna felt a strange mix of anger and empathy. She had respected him as a volunteer, admired his quiet demeanor, and appreciated his help when things got tough. But now that he had revealed his identity, she didn't know how to feel. "I just don't understand why you didn't tell me. Why keep this secret?" He sighed, standing up from his seat, his hands sliding into his pockets as he turned to face her more fully. I thought if I told you who I was, you might start treating me differently. I didn't want your kindness to be because of who I am or what I can offer. I wanted to see if I could earn your trust without using my money or status to influence you." Anna blinked, his words sinking in. For a moment, she wasn't sure what to say. She had been so focused on the fact that he had lied about his identity that she had forgotten why he had done it in the first place. But it still hurt. She had built a connection with him, based on mutual respect, and now it felt like it had been built on a lie. She glanced away, her eyes on the window where rain was beginning to fall, the droplets streaking down the glass as if to mirror her feelings. "I don't know if I can just forget about this, Carter. You've been so kind, but you've also kept a huge secret from me." He took a step closer, his voice quiet but earnest. "I understand, but if you can find it in you to forgive me, I'd like to make things right. I want to work with you, not as a boss or an owner, but as a person who believes in what you do here." Anna swallowed hard, her heart torn. She had never expected her life to become this complicated. She had been focused on getting through each day, handling her responsibilities, and now everything was changing. This wasn't just about her job anymore. It was about trust, respect, and the unexpected people who could change your life in ways you never imagined. She met his gaze again, her expression softening just slightly. "You've been a volunteer, but now you're the owner. What happens next?" His eyes didn't waver. "What happens next, Anna, is entirely up to you. I won't force anything. But I hope you'll give me a chance to prove that who I am as a person is more important than what I own." Anna took a deep breath, still unsure of where this would lead. But there was something in his sincerity, something in the way he stood there, waiting for her to make up her mind, that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for them both to move forward. "Okay," she said finally, her voice quiet but resolute. "Let's see where this goes." Anna barely had time to understand the truth before the next wave of complications arrived. The following afternoon, she was summoned again, this time to a private conference room on the top floor of the hospital. She had never been on this floor before. The carpet was thicker, the walls quieter, and everything smelled faintly of expensive leather and polished wood. Her heartbeat quickened with each step she took down the hall. She pushed the door open, and there he was, Carter, standing near the window with the city skyline behind him. He looked different today, almost regal. Gone were the volunteer scrubs. Instead, he wore a tailored charcoal suit that fit him so perfectly it made the truth of his status impossible to ignore. When he turned toward her, Anna felt the full weight of what he was: an owner, a billionaire, a man who belonged to a world far outside her reach. "Anna," he said softly, "thank you for coming. I know all of this has been overwhelming, but I wanted to see you personally. There is something important I need to discuss with you." She swallowed, nerves twisting inside her. "What is it?" she asked. Carter gestured to the seat across from him. When she sat down, he took his place opposite her, his eyes steady and calm. "I have been thinking a lot about your situation," he said gently. "Dr. Harris told me about your mother's condition and the strain it has put on you. I know how hard you have been working to hold everything together." Anna felt her chest tighten. She hated when people pitied her. She hated even more that her struggles were now part of a conversation with a man who had more money than she could ever imagine. "I do not need charity," she said quietly, her voice firm but not unkind. But Carter shook his head. "This is not charity. This is an opportunity. For both of us." He slid a folder across the table. Anna stared at it, confused. "What is this?" He took a breath, steadying himself. "A proposal. A contract marriage. A temporary one. You help me with something I need, and in return, I will take care of the financial burdens that have been drowning you. Your mother's care. Your living situation. Everything." Anna's breath caught in her throat, For a second, she couldn't speak. She blinked, trying to process his words. "You want me to marry you?" she whispered. He nodded slowly. It would be public, but not romantic. A partnership, a strategic arrangement. There are board disputes happening right now. Certain shareholders believe I am not stable enough to lead the hospital because I am unmarried and do not have a family. They are pushing for changes. I need someone I can trust. Someone who understands compassion, responsibility, and integrity. Someone like you. Anna opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside were clear terms. 3 pages of them. She skimmed through. Appearances at 5 official hospital events, privacy boundaries, no obligations beyond maintaining the public image of a committed marriage. And in return, full medical coverage for her mother, debt relief, and housing security. It was surreal. Unreal. Impossible. "Carter? This is insane," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "You barely know me." But he shook his head again. "I know enough," he replied softly. "I have worked beside you for weeks. I have seen you stay past your shift. I have seen the way you treat every patient with respect, even the difficult ones. I have watched you sacrifice your own rest so others can be cared for. I trust your heart more than I trust most people I have known for years, and I need someone whose intentions I do not have to question." Anna pushed the folder away, overwhelmed. But what if people find out it is fake? What if it ruins everything? Carter leaned forward, his voice low and calm. "It will not ruin anything if we both agree to the boundaries. And no one will question it. People already respect you. They trust you. You are exactly the kind of person they expect me to choose. And if you accept, I will protect you through every step of this. I give you my word." His sincerity shook her. She stood up, pacing a little, her hand pressed over her mouth. This was madness. A marriage? With him? A man she barely knew, beyond long shifts and quiet conversations by the window, yet the weight of her reality pressed down harder. Her mother's declining health, the overdue bills, the constant fear of losing everything she had been fighting so desperately to hold together. She turned toward him, her eyes searching his. "And what do you get out of this, Carter? Honestly?" He stood, meeting her gaze without flinching. "Stability, control of my hospital, and someone beside me who will not betray me. Someone who does not want anything from me but fairness. And maybe," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "maybe a chance to build something real, even if it begins as something that is not." Anna felt something shift inside her. A quiet, trembling uncertainty, a spark of possibility she couldn't yet name. "You are asking a lot," she whispered. And he nodded. "I know, and I will give a lot in return, but I will never force you. This decision is entirely yours." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the distant hum of the city outside the window. Then Anna slowly closed the folder and pressed her palm against the cover. "I need time," she said softly. Carter nodded with understanding. "Take all the time you need." The next few days passed in a blur for Anna. She barely slept, her thoughts consumed by the offer Carter had made. She replayed the conversation in her head over and over, trying to make sense of it all. The hospital was busy as usual, and her patients needed her attention, but her mind kept drifting back to the proposal. She knew she couldn't ignore the reality of her situation. Her mother's health was worsening, and every day without a solution felt like a ticking clock. But could she really go through with something as big as a fake marriage? Was she willing to take that step? It wasn't until 3 days later, after another long shift, that Anna found herself walking through the city streets in a daze, unsure of what to do next. She needed to make a decision. She couldn't keep putting it off. She had just stepped out of a cafe when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Carter. "I hope you're doing well. I know you've had a lot to think about. Just wanted to remind you, if you decide to move forward, we can start at your own pace. You won't be rushed into anything." Anna stared at the message, her finger hovering over the screen. She felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. Carter was giving her space. He wasn't forcing her, wasn't rushing her into this. He genuinely seemed to care, and that felt like a lifeline in a world that had been growing increasingly uncertain. But that was also what scared her. She couldn't afford to let her heart get involved. This had to be practical, logical, no room for feelings. But could she keep it that way? She sat down on a bench by the park, taking in the quiet of the evening. The soft rustling of leaves in the breeze and the distant sounds of the city faded away as her mind cleared for the first time in days. She realized then that she had never truly questioned his integrity. Despite the unconventional circumstances, there was something about Carter that she couldn't deny. He wasn't like other men. There was sincerity in his eyes, a steadiness in his presence. But was that enough? Could she trust him, even with her heart? The next day, Anna met with Carter at the hospital. It was a quiet, private lunch in his office, just the two of them. He was already seated when she entered, his suit jacket off and sleeves rolled up. He was working on his laptop, but when she walked in, he closed it and looked up at her, his eyes soft but expectant. "I've thought about what you said," Anna began, her voice steady but unsure. "And I know this is insane, but I don't have many choices left. My mother's care, the bills, it's all too much." Carter nodded, not speaking right away. He stood and walked over to where she was sitting, taking a deep breath. "You don't have to say yes right now," he said quietly. "But I want you to know, whatever decision you make, I'm here. I'm not just offering you a contract. I'm offering you a chance to change your life, to have the peace of mind that you've been struggling to find." Anna looked at him, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. She had spent years trying to make ends meet, trying to balance her duties as a nurse and a daughter. And now, here she was, being offered the kind of security that could change everything. Was it really too good to be true? She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "All right," she said, her voice firm now. "I'll do it. But we do this on my terms. No pretending. No forced smiles at gala events. And if at any point this feels wrong, we stop." Carter's eyes softened, and for a moment he just looked at her, as if weighing her words. Then, with a small smile, he nodded. "Of course, we do this together, as partners. No pressure, no strings attached." It was a strange feeling, this mixture of relief and anxiety. Anna wasn't sure if she was making the right choice, but she knew she had to try. For her mother, for her future, and maybe, just maybe, for herself. Over the next few days, the preparations began. Carter made arrangements for their first public appearance as a married couple, but Anna made sure to keep everything professional. There were no romantic gestures, no promises of love, just a clear understanding of what they were doing. As they made their way to the hospital gala, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting inside her. She had agreed to this arrangement with a sense of duty, but now, as they stood side by side in front of the event, she began to feel the weight of her choice. She was standing next to a man who, despite everything, had shown her nothing but kindness. Could she keep her emotions in check? Or was there more to this partnership than she was willing to admit? As the night went on, Anna felt herself relaxing into the role she had agreed to play. Carter was a man of few words, but there was an ease to the way he carried himself, and his quiet strength made it easier for her to follow suit. When the night ended and they returned to their separate rooms in the mansion, Anna couldn't help but wonder if this was just the beginning of something more complicated than she had ever imagined. Days turned into weeks, and Anna began to settle into her new routine. The gala was just the beginning, and though things started off awkwardly, she and Carter found a rhythm. The arrangement, as strange as it was, became their reality. She kept her distance emotionally, focusing on her work and her mother's care, and Carter kept his word. There was no pressure, no attempts at forcing feelings. But even so, the lines between them began to blur in subtle ways. He was there when she needed him, offering support in ways that went beyond just financial help. Whether it was a quiet message to check in or a gesture of kindness when things were tough, Anna couldn't help but notice the difference in him. His care for her wasn't just professional, it was personal. But she couldn't afford to let her guard down. This was still a business arrangement, nothing more. One afternoon, as she was leaving the hospital after another long shift, Anna felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning around, she saw Carter standing there, his expression more serious than usual. "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" he asked. Anna hesitated but nodded, stepping aside to let him walk with her toward the parking lot. "I know this isn't easy for you," Carter began, his voice quiet, "but I've been thinking about how we've been doing this, how we're both playing roles that we didn't sign up for." Anna gave a small, cautious smile. "You don't think I noticed?" Carter gave a slight chuckle, but there was no humor in his eyes. "I've been giving this a lot of thought. The whole reason I proposed this deal was to protect both of us. But it's not just about appearances. I realize now that there's more at stake here than just us playing pretend." Anna's pulse quickened. She felt the sudden shift in the air around them. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice a little shaky. "What I mean is, I've been trying to keep things professional, just like you. But somewhere along the way, I've started to realize that it's not just about fulfilling a contract anymore," Carter said, his voice steady but soft. "I've started to care about you, Anna. Not because of the contract or the arrangement, but because you're someone worth caring about. And I'm not sure how to move forward from here." Anna's heart skipped a beat. She had known, deep down, that there was something more to this. But hearing it out loud was different. She had been fighting this growing connection between them, but now it felt impossible to deny. Yet, she couldn't let herself get lost in this feeling. This was still a business arrangement, and she was still bound by the boundaries they had set. She had to remind herself of that. "Carter, I don't know what to say," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't how things were supposed to go. We agreed to keep this strictly professional. And now you're telling me you've started to feel something for me?" His eyes softened, but there was a quiet determination in his gaze. "I know. And I never wanted to complicate things. But sometimes, life throws things your way that you can't ignore." They stopped walking as they reached her car, the tension between them palpable. Anna's mind was spinning. She had been so focused on maintaining control, on keeping her emotions in check, that she hadn't considered how Carter might be feeling. She had never asked herself what he wanted, beyond the arrangement they had made. "I'm not saying we throw everything away," Carter continued, his voice steady. "I just want you to know that I'm not looking for anything other than honesty. If we're going to do this, whether it's a contract or something more, we have to be real with each other. I want us both to make this choice, not just because of what's convenient, but because it feels right." He paused for a moment, then added, "You don't have to say anything now, Anna. But I think it's time for us to stop pretending. We owe ourselves that much." Anna looked at him, her mind racing. Could she let herself be vulnerable? Could she allow this connection to grow into something more than just an agreement? The idea of it scared her, but a part of her also felt a flicker of hope. She wasn't sure where this would go, but something told her that her life was about to change again, and this time, she wasn't going to hide from it. "I don't know what the future holds," Anna said finally, her voice soft but resolute. "But I agree. We owe it to ourselves to be honest. Let's take it one step at a time." She took a deep breath, her heart racing. No more pretending. Carter smiled, a genuine, relieved smile that reached his eyes. "Thank you, Anna," he said quietly, his voice full of gratitude. "That's all I needed to hear." The days that followed felt different. There was an unspoken shift between Anna and Carter, a subtle but undeniable change in how they interacted. The boundary that had once kept them at arm's length was no longer there. They still went through the motions of their arrangement, but now each glance, each word, carried weight. They found themselves talking more, not just about the hospital or their work, but about life, hopes, and fears. Carter opened up in ways Anna had never expected. And for the first time since the beginning of their strange agreement, she allowed herself to feel something beyond duty and responsibility. One evening, after another long shift, Anna found herself in the break room, sipping on coffee, trying to shake off the exhaustion of the day. She had been working nonstop for weeks, but now, the weight of her responsibilities seemed heavier than ever. The door to the break room opened, and Carter stepped inside. His usual calm demeanor was replaced by a look of determination. "Anna," he said, his voice softer than usual, "I've been thinking about everything about us, this situation. I want you to know that I don't take this lightly. I know we made this agreement out of necessity, but I also want you to know I respect you. I care about you. Not because of the contract, but because of who you are." Anna looked up from her coffee, her heart skipping a beat. She had expected him to keep things formal, just like they had agreed. But now, hearing him say those words, something inside her began to stir. She had been so careful to guard her emotions, so determined to keep everything professional. But it was becoming harder to ignore the truth. "Carter, she started, but he cut her off, stepping closer. "I know you've been through a lot," he said, his tone gentle. "I understand why you've been holding back. But I want you to know that I'm here, Anna. I'm not asking for anything more than your trust. Whatever happens between us, I'm in this with you. And I'll be here every step of the way, no matter what." He reached out, placing a hand on the table next to hers. She felt a strange sensation in her chest, a mix of warmth and uncertainty. She hadn't allowed herself to think about what would happen if they truly let their guard down. But as she looked at him, the sincerity in his eyes made her question everything. Could she really let herself trust him? Could she let this relationship become more than just a contract? For a long moment, Anna said nothing. She couldn't find the right words. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this wasn't just another transaction, another thing she had to endure. But she couldn't shake the fear that this might all come crashing down. She had too much at stake. Finally, she sighed, looking up at him. "I want to believe you, Carter, but I don't know if I can." Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "I've spent so long taking care of everyone else. I don't know how to let someone take care of me. This arrangement, I don't know if I can make it real." Carter's expression softened, and he stepped closer, his hand gently touching hers. "Anna," he said softly, "you don't have to do this alone anymore. You've been carrying so much for so long. You don't have to be the one to fix everything. I'm here, and I want to help you. Not because of the contract, but because I care about you." He paused, his thumb brushing lightly over her hand. "You're not alone in this. Not anymore." His words hung in the air between them, and for the first time in a long time, Anna felt something inside her shift. The weight of everything she had been carrying, the fear and the loneliness, began to lift just a little. She didn't know where this would go or what it meant for the future, but in that moment, she realized that she didn't have to have all the answers. Maybe it was okay to let someone else in. Maybe it was okay to trust him. With a deep breath, she met his gaze. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly, "but I want to try. I want to see where this goes. I want to believe that this could be something real." She squeezed his hand gently. Carter's face broke into a soft smile, his eyes warm with understanding. "We'll take it one step at a time, Anna," he said, his voice full of reassurance. "No pressure, no expectations. Just us, figuring it out together." For the first time in weeks, Anna felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, she knew that they were no longer just playing roles. Something real was starting to grow between them, something that neither of them could ignore anymore. Weeks passed, and with each passing day, Anna found herself becoming more and more accustomed to the arrangement with Carter. Their lives, once filled with uncertainty, were slowly finding balance. The pressure of her mother's medical bills had eased with the financial support Carter provided, and though they still kept their personal lives largely separate, there was a new understanding between them. They no longer felt like strangers playing a role, they were becoming something more, even if they both refused to acknowledge it openly. But despite the growing connection, Anna still couldn't shake the nagging fear that this was too good to be true. One evening, as they sat together at a hospital charity event, Anna couldn't help but notice the way Carter looked at her across the crowded room. He had always been calm, collected, the perfect picture of a powerful businessman. But tonight, there was something different in his eyes. A softness, an unspoken longing that she couldn't ignore. She had been trying so hard to keep her emotions at bay, telling herself that this was just an arrangement, that it couldn't possibly lead to anything real. But his gaze, his quiet presence next to her, made her question everything. As the event drew to a close, Carter stood and walked over to her, his expression serious yet gentle. "Anna," he said softly, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "Can we talk?" Anna felt her heart race as she followed him to a quieter corner of the room. The music and laughter of the event felt miles away as they stood, facing each other. There was a tension in the air, one that neither of them had acknowledged before, and it made her stomach tighten. "I've been thinking a lot lately," Carter began, his eyes not meeting hers at first. "About us. About this partnership we formed, and I have to be honest with you." He took a deep breath, looking up at her. "I can't keep pretending this is just a contract. I know we agreed on the boundaries, and I respect that. But Anna, I feel something for you, something real." Anna froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She had known for a while that there was something between them, but hearing him say it aloud made everything feel so much more real. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words wouldn't come. She wanted to say something, to tell him that she felt it too, but the fear of what it could mean held her back. Seeing the hesitation in her eyes, Carter took a step closer, his voice gentle but insistent. "I know this isn't easy. I know we've both been through a lot. But I can't ignore what I'm feeling anymore. And I don't want to hide it from you. I care about you, Anna. Not because of the arrangement, but because of who you are." Anna felt a rush of emotion she wasn't prepared for. The words he spoke were the ones she had been hoping for, but now that they were out in the open, she didn't know how to process them. Her life had been filled with so much uncertainty, and the idea of letting someone in, of letting herself be vulnerable, terrified her. "Carter, Anna began, her voice trembling. "I've been so focused on everything else, on making this work, on keeping everything in control. I don't know how to let go. I don't know if I can trust this. If I can trust you." Carter reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "I don't want to rush you, Anna. I just need you to know that I'm here. I'm not asking for everything, just the chance to see where this can go. I'm not asking for promises, but I want to be honest with you. I care about you, and I'm not willing to let this go without giving it a real shot." His words hung in the air between them, and for the first time, Anna felt the weight of her own emotions. She had been holding herself back for so long, afraid of what might happen if she allowed herself to truly feel. But here he was, standing in front of her, offering her something real, something she had been yearning for without even realizing it. After a long pause, Anna finally spoke, her voice steady but quiet. "I'm scared, Carter. I'm scared of what this could mean. But I think I think I want to try. I want to see where this goes too. Carter's eyes softened, and a small, relieved smile tugged at the corners of his lips. That's all I need to hear, he said, his voice warm with gratitude. We'll take this one step at a time, together. As they stood there, hand in hand, the noise of the event faded away, leaving only the sound of their breathing and the unspoken promise between them. For the first time in a long time, Anna felt a sense of peace settle over her. She wasn't sure where this path would lead, but for the first time in a while, she was willing to take that step forward with him. As the weeks went on, the dynamic between Anna and Carter continued to evolve. What had started as a business arrangement was now beginning to feel like something more, though neither of them was ready to admit it fully. They found themselves spending more time together, not just at the hospital, but outside of it as well. Carter took her to dinner at quiet restaurants, where they would talk about everything and nothing about their pasts, their fears, their dreams. With each passing day, the wall Anna had so carefully built around her heart began to crumble, piece by piece. She was still cautious, still unsure of what this all meant, but there was no denying the growing connection between them. One evening, as they walked through the hospital's private garden after a long day, Carter stopped and turned toward her. The setting sun cast a warm glow over the flowers, and the air smelled of fresh grass and blooming roses. Anna looked up at him, her heart beating a little faster as their eyes met. It was in that moment, standing together in the quiet of the garden, that Anna realized how much had changed since they first met. "Anna," Carter said softly, his voice serious yet tender. "I've been thinking a lot about us, and I want to be honest with you about something. This what we're doing, it's not just an arrangement for me anymore. It's more than that. I care about you, and I'm not saying that lightly." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She had been waiting for this moment, the moment when he would finally say the words she had been afraid to hear. She had been bracing herself for the inevitable moment when he would back out, when the reality of their situation would overwhelm them both. But here he was, standing in front of her, saying exactly what she had been too scared to admit to herself. "Carter, Anna started, her voice a little shaky. "I never thought I would feel this way, but you're right. This isn't just a contract anymore. I care about you too." She paused, the words weighing heavily on her heart. "I've tried so hard to keep my distance, to keep my feelings in check, but I can't deny it anymore. You've become more than just my partner in this arrangement." Carter smiled, his expression softening, and he stepped closer to her. "I never wanted to pressure you, Anna. I know this has been complicated, but I'm not asking for anything more than the chance to see where this goes. I want to take this journey with you, no matter where it leads." He reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "You're not alone in this anymore. I'm here, for real, not just because of the contract, but because I believe in us." He looked at her, waiting for her to respond. Anna felt a rush of emotion flood through her. The walls she had spent so long building around herself, the fear and hesitation, all seemed to fade away in that moment. She had been so afraid of letting someone in, of allowing herself to trust again. But Carter had shown her a different side of him, one that was patient, kind, and understanding. He had never pushed her, never forced her to feel something before she was ready. And now, standing there with him, she realized that maybe it was time to let go of her fears and allow herself to take a leap of faith. With a deep breath, Anna squeezed his hand, looking up at him with a small but genuine smile. "I'm ready, Carter," she said, her voice steady and full of emotion. "I don't know what the future holds, but I'm willing to take that step with you. We'll figure this out together." She reached up and placed her other hand gently on his cheek. "I trust you." She didn't need to say anything else. Her words spoke volumes, and in that moment, everything seemed to fall into place. Carter's eyes softened, and he closed the distance between them, his hand cupping her face as he kissed her gently. It was a simple kiss, Yet it carried the weight of everything they had been through together, the doubts, the fears, the uncertainties, and everything that lay ahead. For the first time in a long time, Anna felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Months passed since that evening in the garden, and with each passing day, Anna and Carter's connection grew stronger. They had faced challenges, awkward moments, doubts, and external pressures, but they had also experienced moments of joy, understanding, and undeniable chemistry. Their arrangement had long ceased to feel like a mere contract. It had transformed into something real, something built on mutual respect, trust, and care. The lines between business and romance had blurred, and neither of them had the heart to stop it. They had crossed a threshold, and neither of them could imagine going back. It was another quiet evening, just like so many before, when Carter invited Anna to dinner at one of their favorite restaurants. The soft hum of background music played as they sat across from each other, sharing a meal and a bottle of wine. There was no more pretending, no more hiding behind the guise of a contract. They were simply two people, deeply in love, enjoying the moment. As they finished their meal, Carter reached across the table, gently taking Anna's hand in his. His eyes were soft, his smile warm, as he looked at her. And for the first time in a long time, Anna could see the future in his eyes, a future that no longer felt uncertain or distant. It felt like home. "Anna," he said softly, his voice full of emotion, "I know we started this journey as an arrangement, but I don't want it to end there. You've shown me what it means to truly live to love, to care, to share a life with someone. And I can't imagine a future without you in it. Will you marry me? Not because we have to, not because of anything else, but because I want you. I want you by my side for the rest of my life." Anna's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at him, overwhelmed by the love and sincerity in his voice. She had spent so long running from the idea of love, afraid of being hurt, afraid of being vulnerable. But with Carter, everything felt different. He had never pushed her, never forced her to feel anything. He had simply been there for her, supporting her, loving her for who she was. And now, in this moment, she realized that she had found something she never thought she would find: true love. She smiled, her voice soft but steady as she replied, "Yes, Carter, I will marry you." Her heart swelled with emotion, and as she looked into his eyes, she knew that this was the beginning of their forever. No more doubts, no more hesitations, just the two of them, building a life together. Carter's face lit up with pure joy, and without another word, he stood up, pulling her into his arms. The restaurant around them seemed to fade away as they shared a kiss, sealing their promise to each other. It wasn't just a contract anymore, it was love. Real, unconditional love. As they left the restaurant that night, hand in hand, Anna felt a sense of peace settle in her chest. She had never imagined that something as complicated as their beginning could lead to something so beautiful. But now, standing next to Carter, she realized that life had a way of surprising you when you least expected it. They had started as strangers, bound by necessity, but they had ended up as partners, lovers, and soon, husband and wife. And as they walked into the future together, Anna knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. Because love, true love, had a way of making everything else fade into the background. They had found something real, and that was all that mattered.